Clara was at home, the soft light of early evening filtering through the curtains, creating a cozy and romantic atmosphere. The aroma of fresh herbs and roasted tomatoes filled the kitchen as she finished preparing a special dinner for Lucas. It was supposed to be a night full of smiles and laughter, but deep down, Clara couldn't shake a strange feeling that had been with her. She had planned everything down to the smallest detail, from the table decor to the soft playlist playing in the background. However, while stirring the pot, her mind wandered, thinking about the past few weeks and the distance that seemed to be growing between them. Then, as she approached the sofa to pick up Lucas's phone, which had been left on the table, a light on the device caught her attention. The screen lit up, and a notification appeared, a message from an unknown woman. Clara hesitated, but curiosity consumed her. She picked up the phone and with a racing heart read the message. The words were clear, and the woman's confident tone made her stomach turn. "I can't wait to see you again. You always know how to make me feel special." Clara felt like her world stopped. The weight of the betrayal hit her like a punch. The image of the romantic dinner instantly dissolved into a nightmare. Without thinking, she turned to Lucas, who was entering the room with a carefree smile and a bouquet of flowers in hand. "Hi, love," he said, his excitement palpable. "I hope you're hungry." Clara, unable to hide the pain consuming her, looked at him with tear-filled eyes. His smile faded as he noticed her expression. "What happened?" Lucas asked, worry quickly spreading across his face. "Who is this?" Clara shot back, pointing at the phone, her voice trembling with anger and hurt. Lucas froze, his eyes widening, and a shadow of panic crossed his face. He hesitated, as if searching for words that could save him from the situation. "Clara, let me explain." "Explain?" she interrupted, her voice rising. "Do you really think there's something you can say that will make this all disappear?" He took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, but Clara no longer wanted to listen. The pain of betrayal consumed her, and she couldn't believe that the man she loved could do something so cruel. "I didn't want you to find out like this," Lucas said, his voice trembling. "It was a mistake. I was confused." "Confused?" Clara laughed, but it wasn't a laugh of joy. It was a bitter laugh, full of disdain. "You were confused while letting me believe we were happy, while I was preparing this dinner? You betrayed me in my own home." The atmosphere in the room became unbearable. The silence that followed was heavy, almost palpable. Clara felt the pain turning into anger, a feeling that pushed her to act. She no longer wanted that life. She no longer wanted Lucas. The betrayal had broken something inside her, and determination began to sprout like a flower breaking through hard ground. "I can't do this anymore," Clara finally said, her voice now firm. "I deserve more than this, and so do you." Lucas tried to approach her, but she took a step back, her expression of pain now replaced by a new strength. "Clara, please, I can change," he pleaded, but she was already decided. "No, Lucas, that's enough. I need some time. I need to find myself again." The next morning, Clara woke up with her eyes swollen from crying. The sunlight streamed through the window, but instead of warming her, it seemed to only intensify the pain she still felt. She knew she needed support, so she decided to call her friends, Juliana and Amanda. They had always been her safe harbor, and she knew she would need them more than ever. When they arrived, the atmosphere was heavy, but soon laughter and conversation began to flow. Clara poured out what had happened, and her friends listened attentively. "You're stronger than you think, Clara," Juliana said, holding her hand. "This is the moment for you to reinvent yourself. How about opening that cafe you've always dreamed of?" "I never thought I could do it alone," Clara replied, hesitant, but a small spark of hope began to ignite within her. "You're not alone. We're here with you," Amanda added, smiling. "Let's do this together." With the unconditional support of her friends, Clara felt a new energy pulsing within her. It was time to leave the past behind and embrace a future she had always wanted. The cafe wasn't just a dream, it was a new life, a new chance. Clara sat at her table, surrounded by piles of books and notes on entrepreneurship. The soft light of the late afternoon filtered through the window, illuminating the small space that, until then, had been just an extension of her life with Lucas. Now there, she was beginning to build her new future. She was determined to turn pain into power. Lucas's betrayal wouldn't destroy her, but would propel her. With a click, she enrolled in an online business management course. Her heart pounded with a new and vibrant energy. "This is what I need," she murmured to herself as the screen loaded. The idea of opening a cafe had always been latent in her mind, but now she felt she had a reason to fight for it. Clara opened a tab in the browser and began researching the main challenges of opening a business. "I need to know everything," she thought, determined. In the following days, Clara threw herself headlong into her new journey. She attended workshops, read books on marketing, and got involved in a local entrepreneurs group that met weekly at a neighborhood cafe. The energy of the place was contagious. She could feel the passion of others for their own projects. One night, while discussing marketing strategies, Clara found the courage to share her idea. "Hi everyone, I'm Clara, and I'm thinking of opening a cafe with an innovative concept that combines art and gastronomy," she said, her voice trembling slightly. The curious and encouraging looks made her feel more at ease. "That's amazing, Clara. What do you have in mind?" asked a curly-haired guy with an open smile. He introduced himself as Carlos and had a small cupcake business. "I want to create a space where people can not only drink coffee, but also participate in artistic events like exhibitions and painting workshops. Something that brings the community together," Clara explained, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "I'd love to help with the events. I think that would bring good traffic," said one of the women at the table, named Renata. Clara smiled, feeling welcomed and motivated. The following week, Clara decided to attend a networking event in the city. She wore an elegant black blouse and a high-waisted skirt, trying to convey the confidence she felt growing within her. Upon arrival, the atmosphere was vibrant, with entrepreneurs exchanging ideas and presenting their projects. Clara felt a bit intimidated, but at the same time excited by the possibility of meeting people who could inspire her. It was during this event that she met Alex, an experienced chef who had worked in several renowned restaurants. He was talking about his passion for fresh ingredients and unusual combinations. Clara approached, attracted by the energy he exuded. "Hi, I'm Clara. I'm thinking of opening a cafe, and I'd like to know about your experience," she said, trying to hide the anxiety in her voice. "Hi, Clara. I'm Alex. Sounds interesting. What do you have in mind?" he asked with a friendly smile. "I'm thinking of something that combines gastronomy with art. I want my cafe to be a creative space," Clara explained, gesturing with her hands as she spoke. "That's amazing. I'd love to help with the recipes. Food can be a form of art too, and the cafe can be a complete sensory experience," Alex replied, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. Clara felt an instant connection. They talked for hours, exchanging ideas and laughter, while Clara felt more alive than ever. Returning home that night, Clara was inspired. However, as she entered the apartment, darkness enveloped her. She looked around and saw the sofa where she used to cuddle with Lucas. The memories hit her like a wave, and the joy she felt began to dissipate. The smell of the dinner she had prepared for him still seemed to linger in the air. Clara closed her eyes, taking a deep breath, and decided she needed to take action. "Enough," she whispered to herself, feeling determination grow again. "I can't let this hold me back. I need to distance myself from him to heal and focus on what really matters now." With this decision, Clara focused on her dreams and her new project. The pain of betrayal was still present, but she remembered what she had learned in the past weeks. She was strong, capable, and deserved to be happy. And so, Clara prepared for a new chapter in her life, full of possibilities, without looking back. Clara sat at her friend Juliana's cafe table, surrounded by colorful post-its and pens. The environment was full of energy, and the laughter of Amanda and Juliana echoed around her. The soft light of the late afternoon filtered through the windows, creating the perfect atmosphere for the discussion that followed. Clara looked at the papers scattered around, her heart pounding with the possibility of a future that once seemed distant. "So, what do you think of this name?" Clara asked, her voice a little hesitant but full of hope. "Cafe of Dreams? Or maybe Creative Cafe?" "Cafe of Dreams is too cliché, Clara. You want something that shows your personality, something that really captures the essence of what you want to do," replied Juliana, resting her chin on her hands with an encouraging smile. "And why not something like Flavor and Inspiration? That could convey the idea of a place where people not only come to drink coffee, but also to be inspired and create, Amanda suggested, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. Clara began to feel more confident. I loved it. Flavor and inspiration has a special touch, and we can have a wall where people can leave messages or drawings. What do you think? Her friends agreed, and soon the table was full of ideas. They discussed the menu, the kind of environment they wanted to create, and even events that could take place at the cafe, like poetry nights and local art exhibitions. Clara felt a wave of enthusiasm and determination growing within her. It was as if every idea was a small light illuminating her path. You're feeling better, aren't you? Juliana asked, noticing the sparkle in Clara's eyes. Yes, much better. It's like I'm finally rediscovering who I am. After what happened with Lucas, I thought I would never feel like this again, Clara confessed, her voice full of emotion. You're amazing, Clara, and you know you can count on us for everything. We're going to make this cafe a success, Amanda exclaimed, raising her coffee mug in an impromptu toast. Clara smiled and raised her own mug, feeling the strength of friendship in every sip. Meanwhile, Lucas was walking down the street, his mind restless. He couldn't get Clara out of his thoughts. The betrayal weighed on his heart, but more than that, he missed her deeply. He needed to talk to her, to explain himself somehow. But how? The fear of rejection paralyzed him. You can't give up on her, Lucas. You need to show that you can change, he murmured to himself, looking up at the reddish evening sky. That same afternoon, Clara and her friends were about to end the meeting when Clara's phone vibrated. It was a message from Lucas. Her heart raced. Hi, Clara. Can we talk? I need to see you. She hesitated for a moment, the memory of the betrayal still fresh in her mind. Why does he want to talk to me now? She thought, but at the same time, she felt a part of her curious, wanting to understand what he had to say. Are you going to meet him? Juliana asked, noticing the change in Clara's expression. I don't know. Maybe it's better not to, Clara replied, her voice trembling. The internal conflict was palpable. You need to protect yourself, Clara. Don't go back to the pain that's already passed, Amanda warned, her expression turning serious. I know, but what if he really regrets it? What if he wants to explain? Clara said, looking at her friends for support. Look, you should do what your heart tells you, but remember that you're in a new chapter of your life. Focusing on yourself should be the priority, Juliana concluded, gently touching Clara's hand. Clara took a deep breath, absorbing her friend's words. They were right, but the pain and confusion still accompanied her. I'll think about it, she replied, deciding that she needed time to process everything. In the following days, Clara dedicated herself to planning the cafe. With Alex, the chef she had met at the networking event, ideas began to flow even more creatively. Working with him was stimulating, and she felt that with each recipe they tested together, something new and vibrant was born. This recipe for chocolate muffins with chili is a perfect combination. It has to be one of our best sellers, Alex commented, his enthusiasm contagious. Clara smiled, realizing how alive and involved she felt with the project. And how about iced hibiscus and lemon tea? I think it would add a refreshing touch to the menu. The chemistry between them grew every day, and Clara couldn't deny that Alex's presence brought an unexpected comfort. However, even in the midst of all this, memories of Lucas still haunted her. Clara, you're doing great. It's amazing to see you so excited, Alex praised, watching her with admiration. Thank you, Alex. I'm starting to feel that way too, Clara replied, a genuine smile lighting up her face. But deep down, a shadow of doubt still hung over her mind, reminding her that the path to healing wouldn't be easy and that the wound was still fresh. Clara looked at the computer screen, the blue light illuminating her tired face. The spreadsheets were piling up, and the reality of financial difficulties was starting to weigh on her shoulders. The dream of opening the cafe she always wanted seemed more distant with each passing day. The bills weren't paying themselves, and the initial investment she had planned was becoming a burden. Frustration was invading her, but at the same time, the memory of her determination kept her going. Clara, you need to take a deep breath and look at this as a challenge, not as an insurmountable obstacle, said Juliana, who was sitting next to her as the two reviewed the numbers. Juliana's expression was one of concern, but also encouragement. I know, Jude, but it's so hard. What I thought would be a joyful project now just feels like a burden, Clara replied, running her hands through her hair, a gesture that had become habitual. Amanda, who was organizing some notes, chimed in. Look, every new beginning comes with its challenges. Remember what you always told us? The biggest victories come after the biggest challenges. Yes, but what if I can't do it? Clara questioned, her voice faltering as she expressed the fear consuming her. Clara, you've already overcome so much. Dealing with Lucas's betrayal and still being here, standing and fighting for your dream. That's already an achievement, Juliana affirmed, placing her hand on Clara's, a gesture of support that made her feel a little stronger. Let's make a plan. We can start looking for investors or even a crowdfunding campaign, Amanda suggested, excited. That could give your idea a boost. And who knows, you might be surprised by the number of people who believe in you. Clara looked at them, feeling a wave of gratitude. You guys are amazing. If it weren't for you, I'd probably be at home, sinking into negative thoughts. That night, while working at the cafe, Clara and Alex were in the midst of an intense discussion about the concept of the menu. Alex, with his passionate demeanor, advocated for the inclusion of bolder dishes and innovative gastronomic experiences, while Clara preferred a more accessible and familiar menu. Look, Clara, what I'm saying is that we need to stand out. This isn't just another cafe. We need to be an experience, Alex argued, gesticulating enthusiastically. I understand, but we can't forget that we're just starting out. We need to earn the customer's trust first before going for something so risky, Clara replied, feeling her insecurity flare up. The idea of risking everything on something that could fail made her anxious. Clara, please, trust me. I've seen what works and what doesn't. If we want our cafe to stand out, we need to be bold, Alex said, his voice full of conviction. She took a deep breath, trying to organize her thoughts. Nervousness was overwhelming her, but she knew she couldn't give in to it. I'll think about it, but we need balance. I can't just follow an idea without considering the consequences. Alex looked at her, realizing how shaken she was. Sorry if I was too aggressive. I just want you to see the potential I see. Let's keep working on this together, okay? Sure, let's. We need some time to calm down and reflect on all this, Clara replied, trying to hide the insecurity consuming her. The tension between them was palpable, but there was a mutual understanding that they needed to find a way together. That night, while reflecting on the conversation, Clara received an unexpected call. It was Lucas. Her heart raced and hesitation took over her mind. What did he want now? After everything that happened, she didn't know if she was ready to face the past again, but at the same time, she felt she needed to bring closure to this part of her life. Hi, Clara. It's Lucas. Can we meet to talk? His voice sounded on the other end of the line, bringing a mix of emotions to the surface. She hesitated. Lucas, I don't know if this is a good idea. Please, I just want a moment to explain some things. I promise it will be quick, he insisted, his tone full of an urgency that intrigued her. Clara looked out the window, the darkness of the night reflecting her confused thoughts. Okay, where and when? How about tomorrow afternoon at the cafe we used to go to? Lucas suggested, and Clara felt a knot in her throat. That was a part of her life she was trying to bury, but the idea of closing everything off at once attracted her. All right, I'll go. But don't expect empty apologies, she replied, ending the call with a mix of relief and apprehension. What did Lucas have to say? And, more importantly, was she really ready to listen? Clara watched the cafe's movement, the soft light streaming through the windows creating a cozy atmosphere. It was a space that reflected her essence, full of warm colors and irresistible aromas of fresh coffee and baked goods. The opening was near, and nervousness consumed her. She remembered the nights she stayed awake, planning every detail, dreaming of the moment when she would finally see her idea come to life. Next to her, Alex was arranging some tables, and Clara couldn't help but notice how involved he seemed to be, as much as she was. Are you ready for this? Alex asked with an encouraging smile. His eyes gleamed with the excitement of a new challenge. I am, or at least I'm trying to convince myself of that, Clara replied, trying to hide the anxiety in her voice. It's just a cafe, but for me, it's much more than that. It's your dream, Clara. And you deserve every second of this achievement, Alex affirmed, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. He always had a special way of making her feel valued, and that left her a little confused, especially now that she was trying to leave her past behind. As they arranged the space, Clara glanced out the window and saw Lucas across the street. Her heart raced. He looked different, thinner, and there was an expression of regret on his face that she instantly recognized. A whirlwind of emotions overwhelmed her. Anger, pain, but also a pang of compassion. "Clara, are you okay?" Alex asked, noticing her change in expression. "It's just a memory," she replied, forcing a smile. "Nothing I can't handle." Deep down, however, Clara knew she needed to resolve this situation. Lucas had sought her out a few times in the past weeks, but she had always dodged him, preferring to focus on her new project. However, that look made her hesitate. Was it time to close that chapter once and for all? "I'm gonna take a quick walk, okay?" said Clara, determined. Alex nodded, not questioning her. As she left, Clara found herself walking towards the cafe where Lucas was waiting for her. Each step seemed heavier than the last, but her determination grew. Upon entering, the familiar smell of coffee enveloped her, and Lucas was there, nervous, with his hands clasped on the table. "Hi, Clara," he said, looking up at her. "Thank you for coming." "I couldn't ignore you forever," she replied, keeping her voice firm. "What did you want to say?" Lucas took a deep breath. "I know I made a terrible mistake. I can't forgive myself for what I did, and I'm sorry for hurting you. You didn't deserve that." Clara listened, but a part of her still hurt. "Lucas, what happened between us wasn't just a mistake. It was a betrayal. I had to rebuild my life since then, and I'm doing it without you." "I understand," he murmured, his eyes reflecting a glimmer of regret. "But I'm here because I realized I can't go on like this. I want to change, to be a better person. For you." She hesitated, trying to decipher the sincerity in his words. "Do you really think you can change? That I can just forget everything that happened?" "I don't expect you to forgive me now," Lucas said, his voice almost a whisper. "But I want you to know that I'm willing to fight for you, for us. If you give me a chance, I promise I won't disappoint you again." Clara closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of memories and broken promises. But there was something in the way he spoke, a vulnerability she hadn't seen before. "Lucas, I don't know if I can. I'm trying to move on." "I accept that," Lucas said, with a look of relief. "If you need space, I'll respect that. But I'll be here, always." Clara felt a mix of freedom and confusion. With one last look at him, she said goodbye, feeling that in some way she had left a weight behind. As she left the cafe, the fresh air of Atlanta enveloped her, and she took a deep breath, determined to focus on what really mattered: her cafe, her life, and her happiness. She knew the journey was just beginning, and now she was more determined than ever to do it for herself. Clara was celebrating at the cafe, the aroma of fresh coffee and soft music filling the air. The tables were full of satisfied customers, and the laughter of her friends echoed around her. She could hardly believe that the dream she had nurtured for months had finally come true. In the midst of this joy, a feeling of unease washed over her when she saw Lucas at the door, holding a large bouquet of flowers. Clara's heart raced, but she didn't know if she was ready for this encounter. Lucas entered, looking nervous, and his presence seemed to bring a mix of nostalgia and pain. He approached, flowers in hand, and Clara stopped, her smile fading. "Clara," he began, his voice choked. I'm here to apologize. I'm so sorry for everything I did." "Lucas," Clara replied, trying to maintain composure, "I don't know if this is the right place for this." She looked around, noticing the worried expressions of her friends and the agitation of the customers around her. "Please, just hear what I have to say," he insisted, the sincerity in his eyes almost convincing her. "I'm not the same person I was. The betrayal, it was a desperate attempt to deal with my own insecurities. I didn't know how to love you the way you deserved." Clara felt a knot form in her throat. Those words carried an emotional weight she hadn't expected. "You broke me, Lucas. I was so focused on us. And you betrayed me," she said, the pain still alive in her voice, but there was a new strength in her words, a determination that had grown throughout her journey. "I know," Lucas replied, his head lowered. "I can't justify what I did, but I'm here because I want to change. I want to be a better man, not just for you, but for myself." Silence settled between them, and Clara found herself torn. She had spent so much time rebuilding herself, rediscovering herself. The cafe, the conversations with her friends, Alex's support, all of this had helped her strengthen. "And if I decide to give you a second chance?" she asked, hesitant. "How can I know I won't make the same mistake again?" Lucas took a deep breath, his gaze fixed on Clara. "I understand your doubts, and if you decide not to give me this chance, I'll accept it. But I promise that if you let me, I'll do everything to prove that I'm worthy of your love." At that moment, Alex, who had discreetly stepped back, observed the scene from a distance. He felt a mix of support for Clara and a pang of sadness for his own heart. He had gotten close to her at a vulnerable time and now found himself in the position of a spectator. What should he do? Give space or fight for what had begun to blossom between them? Clara, touched by Lucas's sincerity, felt a strange warmth spread through her body. She thought of all the lonely nights, all the tears she had shed, but also remembered how she was rebuilding herself. Maybe I can listen to you, but that doesn't mean we're ready to start over. Let's take it one step at a time, she said, her voice firm but gentle. Lucas nodded, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. "I accept that. I'm here for you, Clara, always." Meanwhile, Alex, though supportive, realized that the connection between Clara and Lucas still had much to be resolved. He decided, then, that it was time to give space, even if it meant letting Clara follow her own path. "If you need me, I'll be around," he said quietly, addressing Clara before stepping away, feeling that, regardless of what happened, the friendship and support they had built were the foundation of everything. Clara looked at Lucas, a mix of emotions floating between them. The journey was far from over, but at that moment, she realized that overcoming wasn't just about leaving the past behind. It was also about growing, learning, and perhaps finding a new path alongside someone who, despite the mistakes, was willing to change. Betrayal may seem like a devastating blow, but it's essential to remember that every challenge is a disguised opportunity. By reflecting on your own experience, you may discover that pain isn't an obstacle, but a stepping stone to something greater. What have you learned about yourself during these difficult moments? How has this experience shaped your view of independence and self-worth? Take this opportunity to ask yourself, how can you transform this pain into strength and autonomy? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if this story touched you in any way, also check out the video that's appearing on your screen now. In my opinion, it's one of the best stories I've ever told. If you liked what you heard now, you'll undoubtedly love this other story too. So subscribe to the channel, click on the video on your screen now, and I'll see you in a few seconds.